In this video, I'm going to demo you a feature of React Native called Memoization, which is used to prevent re-rendering of React components. Let me tell you in advance, this topic is like highly popular in React Native interviews. So let me show you a quick hands-on demo on how to use this feature. So in order to first show you this feature, I'm going to create a feature within this component that will that can cause a re-render. So let me create a state here. React counter. We have created a counter state which is going to be set by set counter, and then we initialize this value as 0. Now we'll create a function, let's say called increment, and this is going to increase the value of the counter on every click. So let's add this set counter previous value, and now previous value plus 1. This is purely a TypeScript issue, not a React one. So what is it? Just want to explain it, the data type. So let's say it's a number in our case. Now useState cannot find useState, and that's because we have not imported it. So let's import that useState from React. So now we have imported the useState and the counter is called. Now let's have this showing on the screen. View. What we need to show is the counter value, right? So let's show that. Text counter. Text is not imported, so let's import this as well. Now we have to call this increment function. For this, we create a button on press. Increment function is called. So give it a title of the button, and that's called increment. So now we have created this thing. Let's see how it works. This is still showing issues. Let me check quickly. That's because we have not imported a button from the right place. So let's import it exactly from the React Native package. Now we have imported it. Let's check if it works. So you can see now this is incrementing, right? Now let's create a child component to show you the example of re-rendering. Let's call this component highly creative name child component, right? So we call it a child component. Now within child component, what we can probably have is just a simple return function. We don't really need anything beyond this for now. Let's just create a view, and in this view we create a text, and we say hello child. So we have now written the component name. Now let's use this component in the parent component, child component. Now within child component we are going to write one more thing, console.log, and we are going to use this cute emoji I've already added here, child component re-rendered. So let's check in our terminal whether it's re-rendering on every increment or not. So you can see that this is getting re-rendered on every single increment. Every time the value changes in the parent component, in the counter, the child component also re-renders. And that's really strange. Like, it shouldn't be happening because we aren't really passing down these values down to child component, but it's still happening. So how to prevent it? And that's where the React memo feature kicks in. So let's use that. It's a very simple feature to use. No syntactical complexity really. Just import memo, create another component, memoized child component, and memo. You can wrap the child component in this. That's it. And now you can instead call this one. So now we have called this. Let's re-render. We have refreshed now. Let's see if it's calling it again and again or not on increment. So you can see it's not calling. That's it. We have managed to prevent the re-rendering on the child component. Great. But now let's assume, what if the increment feature was being called not from the parent but from the child component itself? So let's do that first. Now we are going to pass on this value. So let's say increment, and increment is going to have a feature here, increment, and now let's destructure here, call it increment. So now that it has been called here, let's create a type for this as well. Type child component props. Increment is nothing but a function. So we can call this here. That's it. So now we're passing, and let's remove it from the parent component, right? We're going to use it here in the child component. So let's remove it all together. Now we're moving it into the child component. Increment. So increment has now been moved to the child component. Let's check if it re-renders now, because we are still using React memo, so it shouldn't re-render, right? No, you got it all wrong. This is going to re-render. So how do we prevent re-rendering now? Well, now we need to go to the next level. We need to take this increment feature function and wrap it in a useCallback. Let me demo you how to use that. useCallback. useCallback. This has some syntactical mistake in my code. Okay, I don't need to call this again. That's dumb. Let me just use like this. One more thing. We need to check what it's observing. It's not going to observe. This is if it's not observing any particular state, so we need to prevent that as well. This is going to be totally empty, right? So now we have wrapped the function of setCounter, the increment function, in a useCallback. So let's see if it manages to prevent this from re-rendering. Let's refresh the code first. Now that we have refreshed it and seeing that the increment function is being called from the child, let's see if that prevents it from re-rendering. That's it. You can see the counter is increasing, but it's not calling the child component again. So thing is, every time if you really want to prevent the function from the child component when it's being called to not re-render, you have to use callback along with React memo. The combination. Only if you use this in with combination, it prevents the re-rendering. So wish you a safe and happy coding. Thank you.